Good morning, Longhorn fans. If you are still buzzing about the win over Alabama, then you know what? It's time to get your horns up. That's right. The Get Your Horns Up show is back and ready for another day. Quick note, Said Baxter was seen limping off the field the other night. Sark said yesterday it's day to day. We'll see. Will that bring you down your buzz a little bit? I don't know. I may pee in the punch bowl a little bit more and play a little devil's advocate today. But first, let's say hello to Aaron Little, Orangebloods own extraordinaire. How you doing, Aaron?
I'm doing good. We were talking about it before the show. I've got a lot going on now in the sports world. I'm tracking all these football games. Texas seems like they're obviously going to be pretty good all year. I'm going to be locked in there, obviously. NFL started, and then on top of it, got the freaking Arizona Diamondbacks in the middle of a 5-way wild card race. So I'm tracking all these games. So yeah, I'm watching a lot of sports every night. That's for sure.
Sports mania.
Yeah.
Nash, you still cutting everything up? Or are you still working on the Bama show or game, or is everything out?
No, I'm still cutting stuff up. Yeah, I got a lot of work to do on that. I was watching Sunday football. First week was Sunday NFL Sunday ticket. So
nice.
Great. Yeah.
If you want to join us and join the chat, the Specs chat line is up and running. Benny Rogers in the house first. Good morning, Benny. Glad to have you as always. Disbanded brother. You know, I love it.
Just wants to be in the chat.
No, it's simple. We encourage it. That's fine. And you know what, guys? If you want to make sure your period gets seen or whatever other punctuation you want to throw up there or words, be sure to jump on the super chat. I promise you do that. We will get to you and you'll get to see it. IMAC with 100% horns up. He is on board with the horns up. Get your horns up show. As is Michael Harge is in the house. Glad to have you guys join that Specs chat line. Hey, I said I was going to pee in the punch bowl a little bit. I am nothing if not a neurotic fan. I can be very calm and observant when it comes to other teams that I support, but when it comes to teams that I actually care about, and I do try to maintain a sense of journalism, but I do admit I am still a fan. I get in my head and I think of all the things that could go wrong. And so I'm going to play devil's advocate today. I've got a list of things going on in my head that could ruin Texas's season. And I'm not talking things that are out of control. I'm just saying, these are concerns that I have. So let's play devil's advocate. I'm going to throw them out there and you tell me, is it legit concerns or am I just a neurotic a-hole? That's possible. I guarantee you. I assure you that's possible. And this is going to Aaron and Nash, but if you guys want to join the chat, like I said, just like Gabriel, first time for the show, hook 'em, Gabriel. And Texas chef, love it. He's got something cooking. All right, guys. So my first concern is Texas, over the last 15 years, since 2010, not quite 15, but since that 2010 season, has had a tendency to play down to their level of competition. I mean, you can go back to even 2019. They gave LSU that year a harder game than anybody else on LSU's schedule. It's fair to say. I mean, it took an amazing, 3rd and 17 from Joe Burrow. It was just otherworldly play for LSU to come out of there with a win. It took a Keontae Ingram drop, whatever. Texas played up to the level of competition, but they also played down to the level of competition. Even this year, we saw a week 1 game against Rice where they didn't look great. All right. They had their struggles. They allowed sacks and pressure. They allowed, drops. They stalled out in the red zone. They had to settle for field goals. They were horrendous on 3rd downs again. They have a tendency to play up or down to their level of competition. Texas is a talented team. I'm not telling you that they're not going to win 10, 11, 12 games. What I'm saying is when you do that, when you play to the level of competition, there will be games where you're not able to just snap back into form, and you're going to pick up a loss. You're going to have the oh crap game like Oklahoma State last year. And I know there were mitigating factors with Ewer's injury, still recovering from his injury, Worthy's hand injury, which no one knew about at the time, like a 20, 30-mile wind gust. I get that there were mitigating factors, but they still played to that level of competition. Do you guys have, and we'll start with you, Nash, do you have that concern that we could see that happen again this year as we move on, whether it be this week or Baylor or Iowa State or something like that? You're already shaking your head no. You think
no, I mean, not at all. Not at all, because it was a game that really should have – I mean, it really could have and should have been a game where Rice scores 0 points while we performed at the same level that we did. It just – that I understand the whole, like, we play down and we play up to the level of opponents, but we didn't play up to the level of opponent last week. We played well above the level that Alabama was playing. And I do understand, like, the, wanting to see the consistency of Texas go out there and play to just play error-free, mistake-free. But I just don't think, like, when you're talking about the issues that we saw versus Rice, a lot of it was based in physicality on the line. And it was more or less just like, can these guys actually handle, like, big dudes? And they've left zero doubt after Alabama. They have that ability 100%. And I'm not sitting here, I'm not saying, like, I think that's going to come back. Yeah, I just, like, the Rice game, I think it's just continuing to overreact to that. It was a week one game that wasn't necessarily as clean as possible, but sure, you can't just expect a team to go out there and be 100% every single time.
But could you not make the argument that Texas did play somewhat down to the level until the fourth quarter? I mean,
no, I don't agree with that.
No?
I think Texas made mistakes in executing versus Rice, but I don't think that was playing down to the level of the opponent.
All right.
I think that was just pure, like to what Steve Sarkisian said, everything that they did that was messed up on, it was purely fixable. It's all just technique and stuff like that.
Texas Chef agrees with you, saying also last week's game reminded me of watching in Mac Brown in the good years. They were disciplined and didn't get too high or too low. It's a good point. And again, if you guys want to join the chat, jump in. But the super chat may be the best way to go today, because I feel
to that point on the
you're not going to be able to get
good years.
Do what?
Mac Brown the good years, the 2005 national championship season, we had a worse game against Rice than we did this year. We played Rice closer in that season, and I would have loved to see the reaction from fans then.
Well, yeah, it was never good. Even in the Vince Young years, there was like the Kansas game, where it took Vince with an incredible 4th and 18 to pull out a win on the road in Kansas. That was the first Vince Young starting year, which got him to the Rose Bowl against Michigan. That's why I'm saying these kind of games happen. That was with Vince Young in just ascending to his prime. He wasn't in his prime yet. The next year, obviously, the 2005 season was his prime. That year before, though, where he was learning how to do it and really ascending, which you could make an argument, Quinn is in that ascension year this year. There were stumbles. There were scares. There were, even in the 2005 national championship year, the A&M game was a much closer game.
The 2005 national, the Rice game, it's literally we play Ohio State to that level.
I'm saying,
and we go down. It's football.
Even elite teams have these kind of stumbles. Aaron, is it? And they won those games, but it's a concern that, if you have a tendency to play down, Aaron, do you think they've snapped that tendency? Has this Texas team, this 2023 version, do you have that concern that they're going to revert to form of what we've seen the last 15 years?
I mean, it's still college football at the end of the day with a bunch of, 18, 19, 20-year-old kids.
No, they can't be perfect, Aaron.
That's what I'm saying. Like you're probably going to. I mean, you can call it playing down your competition, which I think it has been in the past. Like there's going to be some games where they're just not as sharp as they are in other games, and that's just naturally going to happen when you've got a bunch of young guys playing, 12 consecutive weeks of college football. So, it's going to happen. The thing I like about it is this does seem like it's a more mature team. You've got guys like Jalen Catalon in the secondary. It all starts with Quinn Ewers. He looks a lot better. More mature. And I think that Alabama road win, it's going to give this team a lot of confidence. It's really going to get them locked in. Not to say like they weren't locked in or they didn't care about all the games in previous years, because I don't think that's the case. But like the stakes have been raised now. And I think like when like these guys know now we are a college football playoff contender. Like we have legitimate aspirations. You're just generally going to be more locked in. Like you're going to be on top of things in meetings. You're going to be doing the extra stuff in practice. Like, even if like you want to say, yeah, they were doing all that before, I promise you, it's going to be more like prevalent in a season like this where the stakes are raised. They are going to start 3-0. In years past, they're not starting 3-0. Like there's just a bit of a wet blanket thrown on the season before it even gets going. So they're going to be even more locked in. So I don't think we're going to see it as much, but you can chalk it up to playing down to your competition. You can also just say this is college football. Like there's going to be close games. Like there's going to be games where Texas doesn't cover the spread. But what I like is the maturity I've seen from the team that, I have more trust that they can win those games when they're not on their A game, and they can rally in the second half and they can rally in the fourth quarter. So, I think there's validity in both sides of this argument.
And Aaron, to what you were just saying, if you look at the statistics of Tom Herman's wins versus Steve Sarkisian's wins and the point differential, Tom Herman and Charlie, specifically also going back to Charlie Strong, that stretch that Travis is talking about, where we're playing up and down the level of opponent. It's constantly within 7 points. Like it's the same. You rarely saw a big loss or a big win.
Yep.
You're seeing that
much more frequently. If we never mentioned Charlie Strong again, to be honest. I think he was a good dude, but those were
I'm just saying when you go to look at the point differential and you're looking at the level difference, like the level of opponents changing.
All right.
Like Travis, look at last year, Kansas. That's a game that under Tom Herman, like people, they like to chastise. I remember I put out a tweet the week before, the day before we played Kansas under Steve Sarkisian his first year. And I said, just in case we lose to Kansas, I'm posting this graphic to show, hey, Tom Herman wasn't that far off from doing it 3 times. Tom Herman barely beat Kansas 3 times.
Yeah.
And then people chastise Steve Sarkisian the first year. And it's like, but this last year, what did we do?
Oh, they destroyed
the first time that we've gone out there and we've dogged Kansas.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I like this whole like playing up and down the level. I think it's overblown. Well overblown.
Okay. Fair enough. But
I also think the data agrees with that too.
Okay. And this is why we play devil's advocate, right? If there's concerns, and I know I'm not the only one that has concerns, right?
Those concerns are going to be answered pretty quickly.
Well, that's right, but that's why we play devil's advocate, to talk this out. Now, if we're talking about playing up and down to the level of competition, this is the next little trigger point for me. Alabama is not that good. And I'll go a step further. Alabama is not a championship level. Look, they're a good team. They're not a championship level team. I'll tell you right now, my hot take on, we don't have overreaction Monday, but my hot take, my overreaction is this. Oregon State is a much better team than Alabama this year. Oregon State has a defense that's almost as good as Alabama. They're comparable. Oregon State has a much better quarterback. Oregon State has a much better offensive line. Oregon State has one of the best running games in the country. Defense, quarterback, offensive line, running game. That's 4 things that Alabama wishes they had this year. They don't. Oregon State is a much better team than Alabama. Texas, if it was playing to the level of competition, Bama is not the bar that it has to clear this year. If you're going to achieve all of the dreams that you have and hope for, that's not the standard. Bama is not the standard that you need to be playing to. You've got to go to another level up because that offense is not good. That offensive line is not good. They maybe someday there are some nice pieces. J.C. Latham is going to go high in the NFL draft. He'll be just fine, but they're playing a lot of rookies. They're freshmen. They're playing a lot of. They have a lot of inconsistencies. Their wide receiver room, it was okay, but it's not great. The quarterback obviously has a lot of questions. There's a lot of Bama fans today calling in to Feinbaum and everybody else saying, we need our new quarterback. Well, you know what? This is a quarterback. I promise you, Jalen Milroe kept them more in the game than anybody else just based off his ability to scramble. Alabama's not the standard. Texas has yet to see a team that they're going to need to beat if they're going to be a national championship college football playoff team.
Okay. I mean, I can take this one first. I think a couple things here. I don't have much to add on the Oregon State debate. I was not prepped on my Beaver research this morning. But I will say there's a good chance Alabama is better than everyone left on Texas's schedule. Just like if we're looking specifically at this year's team, there's a good chance that Bama's the best team that Texas is going to play this year. I would say there's a very good chance that's the case. And then my second thing that I hit on a little bit yesterday is
until they reach the playoffs, right?
Yeah, correct. All right. My second thing I will say is it was a little bit more about the location of the win and the environment in which they won. Like, regardless of this,
that's
like if this is a peak Alabama team or if this is maybe a 9-3 Alabama team or an 8-4 Alabama team, they still went on the road in a hostile environment. Everyone that has been on the Orangebloods live shows yesterday said, that environment was crazy. It was rocking. They still went in there and won a game and made adjustments and executed, had 0 pre-snap penalties on the road in that environment. So I think that's something you can take away. Yeah, I mean, Travis, I know what you're trying to say. Like, it's not a typical dominant Bama team, but I think it's the best team that Texas is going to play the rest of this regular season. And I think winning that game on the road in that environment carries a lot of weight and showed me a lot.
I think here's another team that I think is going to be better than Bama by the end of the season, maybe is now. I think Kansas State is going to be a tougher game than Bama. They've got, when you talk about what makes teams good, Kansas State defense, I think, still has some questions. So I'm saying this with caution. But when you look at that Kansas State offense, they return 5 monsters up front. Will Howard is an underrated, probably the most underrated quarterback in the Big 12. Kansas State is going to be a tough game. And they get Kansas State in Austin this year, so that'll help. That's a very good point about going into Bama. Tuscaloosa is a tough place to play. But, I'm still not sold on Bama. And no, Nash, I didn't mean Oregon. I meant Oregon State. Oregon State is a better team.
No, I was saying no. He was saying you said Ohio State. I'm saying Oregon. Yeah. You were clearly meaning to say, or I just look. I get the purpose of trying to spark conversation, but this is just an outrageous take.
It's not either.
It's horrible. It's horrible. No, Travis. Like, I gotta save you, my man. Like, seriously.
No, hold on.
Hold on.
Wait. No. Before you get your panties all bunched up in a wad,
finish your last thing, because this is nut job level stuff.
This was prefaced by saying we're playing devil's advocate and talking about fears and concerns.
I know, but I'm saying I get when we're trying to spark a conversation, but this is territory that's going well beyond.
It really isn't.
Getting skipped.
I mean, I don't know. Hold on, Travis. Like, you're talking about a team that could easily be in the top 5 of NFL draft picks at the end of the year. Putting players in the NFL, and then also this could be one of the teams that has the most draft picks on any team this year. It's 24/7. They have the most talent on the team.
They have a good defense.
That
talent
what
is
they ran into was they ran into a very, very good Texas Longhorn squad. That and here's the deal. Hold on, and let me also say this: if we're playing down to the level of opponent, up and down the level of opponent, and Bama's that bad, Texas got a terrible season coming.
That's why we're playing this out. We're playing the devil's advocate to say, what if you're playing up and down each week, there will be losses along the way. It's, can you achieve the level that you played last week in and week out? That's the concern. And if you can do that, then Texas is going to be, if Texas plays to the level, and by the way, Texas didn't play their best game Saturday. They left points on that field. This team can play much better than what they showed against Alabama.
I know. I'm just
if they can play to that level, though,
of the show, man. Like it's like there's going to be some
people
to
that level, then they're going to be 12-0.
No.
They're going to be 12-0 if they can play to that level. The question is, can they do it? Can they get up week in and week out and to achieve that level of play? I think that's a legit question. Dude.
I can't. Like, you're never going to be able. Like I'm never going to be able to get over that. I don't know.
All right. Well, I told you I was going to pose the questions, and then I was going to come back to you.
No, I know. I wasn't prepared for that one.
But my next point was that was the devil's advocate. That was the concerns I have. The next point was that I was going to address is why I don't think it's going to happen. So now you can relax. Now we can get to the Kool-Aid portion of the show. All right. We pissed in the punch bowl, but now I'm going to serve you some good Kool-Aid.
Oh, you pissed in the punch bowl.
I did. You're right.
No, I mean, I just like, it's like, I'm fine with saying I'm fine with all the Alabama, but going to Oregon State, that man, I don't know. I'm hung up on that one.
You know what? You can be hung up on that.
I'm with half of the chat over here.
That's the one thing that was not a devil's advocate point of view. Oregon State is a better team than Alabama. And I see the chat going nuts about Oregon State. I get it. You people are sleeping on the Beavers. They're the best. They are a damn good team. They're playing in a damn good conference.
I think they're a damn good team, but there's no way in hell if they play each other that Oregon State wins.
Oregon State beats Alabama. Oregon State, playing in a tougher conference this year than the SEC, is going to have a better record at the end of the year, and they would beat Alabama. And I know, look, the SEC, we're going to talk about this when Chris Gordy joins the show. The SEC is not the SEC that we're used to. And the Pac-12, on its way out the door, is having the best year of its soon-to-be-finished career. And Oregon State is right there at the top. They, again, very good defense, like one of the best in the country. One of the best running games in the country. DJ Uiagalelei has revived his career under Jonathan Smith. An offensive line that's going to have more draft picks probably as a total unit than Alabama's this year. I'm telling you, you people are sleeping. That was a hot take for some of you, but that was not the hot take for me. That was not the devil's advocate take. That was the truth. So, the chat can go nuts. And if you think I'm crazy, go ahead, throw a super chat. I'll read it. But
hey, Travis, maybe I was just crazy for thinking Texas is going to win 38-21. Alabama was really good before that.
Nash, who picked you? You're acting like I didn't pick Texas. You're acting I didn't have
before last week. I mean, look, you're right there with all these Alabama fans calling in.
You can go back on Orangebloods and read my columns. I've had Texas pick to beat Alabama all summer.
I'm just trying to figure out how does Alabama go from, like, we were clearly talking about Alabama as a top dog team to now they're below Oregon State.
All right. I didn't. Did you see a top dog team in Alabama last weekend?
Yes. They played a team full of NFL talent, NFL players. They
did.
What are we talking about here?
But you know what? Part of the reason you were so bullish on Texas is you watched Alabama against Middle Tennessee State too, and they didn't look great that day either.
No, I said that there were defeatable moments that our NFL players are going to be able to take advantage of. Like, I mean, like we have NFL stable of wide receivers. We got
Alabama's going to be a 3 or 4 loss team this year.
I saw areas that we could take advantage of.
I'm telling you, Alabama's going to be a 3 or 4 loss team this year. This is not going to be at the end of the year. You're going to look back on this as an incredible win, but you're not going to look back on it and go, wow, they beat this team that we're not going to face them again in the playoffs. If Texas makes the playoff, you're not going to see Alabama there. I promise you. I bet you. I assure you they ain't going to be there. Now, look, I pissed in the punch bowl. Let me tell you why I'm not really concerned about this Texas team. All right, here's the Kool-Aid portion so you can all calm down. First, defense wins games, and this defense is elite. The one thing that we saw, look, come in and just, through Sark's first 2 years, we would see points where the offense would struggle, right? They would hit some lulls. They would have a period where they just weren't clicking. They would always end up losing those games because they weren't able to get over that hump. The difference this year is the defense. They are able to keep the other team from taking advantage of those lulls. They keep Texas in the game so that when the offense starts clicking again, like the run game struggled early, but by the time that Texas got the ball with 7 minutes left in the fourth quarter, that was a ball game. They did not relinquish it again because the defense kept them in. The offense clicked. The offensive line started gelling. They moved bodies. Defense wins the games, and defense travels. Defense doesn't have the highs and lows like other teams. Like the offense can have a little bit of flow, or it's more of a rhythm-based system. Offense can have ups and downs. Defense doesn't. Those dudes bring it week in and week out. So that's number one reason why I think they're going to be okay. The second reason is I've talked about the offensive line. I know they struggled against Rice, but Sark talked about those were communication issues. Kelvin Banks talked about those were communication issues. I think, I think we're going to see the offensive line is just fine. Why are you shaking your head, Nash? I'm telling you, the offensive line
because
is
that
good.
was literally my point for your entire thing about us playing up and down, and we played down the level of Rice. That's literally my point that I made.
Nash.
Why we didn't, and now you're sitting. It's just Travis. Oh my god,
Travis is so mad.
I know. I'm just like, that's literally what I said.
So bad.
That's literally what I said. I said Sarkisian talking about the like.
Nash,
I'm not even gonna talk about the Kool-Aid today because I'm not even trying to go. I'm not even gonna be like the guy that I'm only on the Kool-Aid. Like this is just outlandish stuff today.
Do you understand the concept of devil's advocate, right?
I understand the concept of devil's advocate, but you're playing the devil's advocate.
Hey, it's okay. Breathe. It's okay.
I'm pulling up Oregon State's schedule.
I mean, I'm just like it.
It's fine. This team, that was the whole point of this. There's concerns out there, but I don't, and I have I share some of these concerns, but I don't know that I necessarily, I think this team is going to be just fine.
When you play on both sides of the fence is when I can't, that's when I lost it.
That's the whole point of playing devil's advocate. There's a lot of people out there I promise you.
No, but you took you were taking a hardline stance on the devil's advocate thing, saying about I don't know. Like, I'm just, I don't know. You can't, I don't think you can make a devil's advocate and then Kool-Aid on the same exact point.
Why not?
Oregon State's favored by 24.5 this week against San Diego State. I say if San Diego State wins outright, Travis has to order one of those like Lee Corso custom beaver heads and wear it on the show for like an entire week.
Done. That's not going to happen. I promise you.
No, I'm on that. I'm on that.
All right, we'll send one to him, Nash. We'll split it.
No. I'm saying Oregon State's not losing to San Diego State. That's just not going to happen. And that's the one thing that was not.
See, that's the type of thing that gets Oregon State losing to San Diego State right there.
That was not the devil's advocate. That was not the crazy talk. But that was. And by the way, look, I started this chat earlier when I talk about defense wins. Yeah, Rice had under 200 yards. Defense wins championships. That's right, Michael. That was I was playing devil's advocate, setting up the true belief that this defense alone is going to keep Texas in games. By the way, that's the same. You talk about Rice had under 200 yards against Texas. Well, you know what? That same JT Daniels who looked like a schmo against Texas, the 6-year JT Daniels, the 5-star JT Daniels, couldn't do anything against Texas, and he went out and lit Houston up, and Rice beat Houston. So Rice may end up being a better team than we think. In fact, when we had the guy from attheRoost.com on for the scouting notebook about Rice, he predicted an 8-win season for Rice. If Rice gets to an 8-win season, then then that will end up being a much better win than it looked week 1. And yeah, Sandra, Bama fans are upset.
Pull up the one chat.
Woo, yeah.
Let's pull up some other chats.
If you're siding with the Bama fans, man, like listen to Paul Feinbaum call and pretty ridiculous things being said by those people.
The point was to say there are some concerns from the way Texas has played in the past that it's going to take a while to win some people over. And I'm addressing those concerns and throwing them out there and asking you, are they legit? That doesn't mean that I necessarily believe them. That was the point. And then I was circling back to say, this is why I don't believe it's legit. This team is different. This team is different because of the defense. This team is different because of the offensive line. This team is different because they were able to go into Alabama and hold the ball for the last 7 minutes of the game against a team that I don't think Alabama's that great, but the defense is. I'm not going to take anything away from the Alabama defense. This team has shown a physicality and a toughness that we haven't seen in Austin in a long time. And it was impressive, not just that they were physical, but that they were able to pull it out when they needed to. When Alabama took a lead in the fourth quarter, Texas answered in 3 plays, and the ball game was over. That's the point of this. There are people that are not going to give Texas its right due because they are looking at the history of the last 15 years. And I'm telling you, this team is different. Did I throw you all into a tizzy to get there? Yeah, I did. That's okay. I own it. I live with it. That's fine. If you think I've been hitting the sauce, fine. That's fine too. If you think you need a drink now after all of this, there's only one place to go, and that's Specs. Specs has everything you need to get over this rant or to allow me to mellow out in the future. Specs is where you go for the best food. Specs is where you go to get stocked up on your provisions for Wyoming. Specs is the play. It's a Texas born and bred company. It's in your neighborhood, but also it's online. So you can check out Specs online and get some fantastic provisions ahead of the Texas-Wyoming game.
No matter what you're needing, Specs same-day delivery can save the day with our Specs app or online shopping. From world-class wines to hard-to-find spirits and craft beers to gourmet foods, delicious snacks, and spectacular sweets. It's Specs. Cheers to savings.
All right, guys, it is SEC Tuesday, and we are joined now by none other than Chris Gordy, the one, the only, he of the Locked On SEC podcast. He of Sports Talk 790 in Houston, which is, if you don't have the Longhorn Network in Houston, you're going to have to tune in to Sports Talk 790 to hear the game against Wyoming this week. Chris Gordy, how are you this morning?
I'm good, guys. It was a fun week of college football, and man, the last 72 hours haven't explained that the SEC is not dead. I think I'm exhausted. So yeah, good to be here.
Well, you came to the wrong place then.
Yeah, I was about to say, Chris, it's going to be a long day for you.
Because I've got all of the fans of Dither talking about, and this was my hot take, one of my hot takes this morning. Having watched this Bama game, and not just this Bama game, but the Middle Tennessee State game, my hot take is that this Alabama team is a 3 or 4 loss team, and Oregon State is a better team this year than Alabama.
And a big for the chat. He's specifically talking football.
And here's why. I'll lay it out one more time. And I was playing devil's advocate about Texas. But this is not this I truly believe. Here's why they're better. Their defense is comparable. Alabama's better defense, but Oregon State's defense is a good enough defense that they're going to be among the best in the country. Not to Alabama's level, but good. Oregon State has a better offensive line. J.C. Latham aside, Oregon State as a unit has a better offensive line. Oregon State has a better running game by far. Damian Martinez is one of the best in the country. He slept on. He's a Texas kid, by the way, playing out in Corvallis. He is a stud who's already churning out, many hundreds of yards this season already. And I know they haven't played anybody great, but that running game is legit. And Oregon State has a better quarterback. DJ Uiagalelei has refound his rhythm. He's been rebirthed under the Jonathan Smith system. He is playing like the 5-star quarterback he is. Oregon State's a better team than Alabama.
Feel free to just let him have it, Chris. Just know.
Yeah. I'm owning it.
I mean, you make an argument. It's not a good one, but you make an argument. They look, Oregon State has beaten San Jose State and UC Davis. I mean, is Austin High School up next? Like, I don't know who they've played so far to make that determination. I do know this. Listening to what Alabama had to say yesterday, some of their offensive linemen, I love the quote, "We're pissed off." That's not good for college football. Look, congrats to Texas on the win. I thought they played their butts off. I thought they did everything they had to do to win that game. Kudos to Sark for keeping the foot on the gas pedal and taking deep shots. That's what it takes to beat Alabama. I thought the turning point was the end of the third quarter. What was it? It was let me make sure I got the score right. So 16-13.
Yeah.
This makes that drive at the end of the third quarter to make it 20-16. That the simple thing, what teams normally do against Alabama there is we pack it in. We run the ball. We want to eat clock, punt it back to Bama, play good defense, get out with the win. No, Sark said, no, keep throwing the ball down the field. And that's how Texas won this game. That's how you beat Alabama. You have to keep playing bold and taking deep shots. You can't play timid. And so I credit Sark and Texas with that, because it was starting to feel like, here comes Bama doing what Bama does. They're starting to hit some big plays on Texas. They're going to get all that momentum back, and they're going to win this game. But I do worry for the rest of the SEC that, the word said yesterday, like this is where Alabama regroups. This is where Alabama gets all their 5-star players in a room and says, hey, we're not playing like that again, and let's go run the table. And I don't know if they will, but they certainly have the talent to do it. And if look, Vegas is always the odds maker that we, the unbiased, impartial party. I think if you put Alabama and Oregon State on a neutral field right now, Alabama's at least a 18-point favorite. So
I would take that money and laugh all the way to the bank. I'm telling you right now, you guys are sleeping on Oregon State and overvalued. See, this is where college football fans get locked into name brands. The name of Alabama means something. The name of Oregon State doesn't. They're about to be a Mountain West Conference team. I mean, literally, like their brand could not be any lower. But I saw that Alabama offensive line play. It's not good. I saw their quarterback play. It's not good. And I maintained, by the way, and I said it a few minutes
ago. Who are they playing? Like, what were they playing against?
I know who they're playing. I get it. But Milroe had, even against Middle Tennessee State, he had some good stats, but it was against a bad defense. He never was able to get off his first read. He had plays that he made with his feet, and that's what kept them. That's what helped them week one. That's what kept them in the game week two. If they had put Buckner or Ty Simpson in, the Texas defense would have destroyed them. It would have gone from like 5 sacks to 10. Milroe kept them in the game more than anything else, but that doesn't mean he's good. He's not, and he's not ready yet.
I think he made some mistakes. The 2 interceptions were bad. I thought he did some things with his legs to keep plays alive. And you're right. I think if they'd have made a quarterback change, it would have been a mistake. I thought he gave them their best chance to win that game. But yeah, I mean, like he's growing. This is their first time in forever that they have a quarterback that's green. I mean, they went from Jalen Hurts, who, was up and down in his career at Alabama, but won a ton of games. And then went straight from that to Tua Tagovailoa, to Mac Jones, to Bryce Young. I mean, it was like, boom, hit, jackpot. And suddenly they found themselves with a quarterback room that isn't stud after stud after stud. So Yeah, I think part of it is also the coordinators as well. I think Tommy Rees is very, very green as well, a guy that well respected and a lot of people would love to have. But Tommy Rees has been one place his whole career, Notre Dame. Like you haven't been in big boy SEC land, with Alabama with a top 5 team. So yeah, I think there was growing pains all around from Jalen Milroe to Tommy Rees as a play caller to, I thought Kevin Steele did the best he could defensively for with what they had. But again, I wonder if those Alabama DBs are up to snuff from what they're used to having back there. I mean, again, go look at all the guys in the NFL that they've cranked out the last decade. But again, just kind of put a cap on the game. Like, kudos to Sark. He did everything he had to do. And kudos to the fans, too. I had some buddies who were there who said, man, Texas really brought it. I mean, the fans traveled to Tuscaloosa. Yep. They were here days in advance, partying out at the bars, tailgating and everything. And that shot of them kind of in the end zone, shaking hands and high-fiving all the Texas fans. There were a ton of Longhorn fans there in Tuscaloosa. But I will say this, and you guys might hate me for it, but it is, somebody said, oh, Texas, they're just going to come right in the SEC, and they proved they could come in and make an impact. The tough part of the SEC is doing that week in and week out. Is that schedule gets relentless. You can go into Tuscaloosa and beat Alabama. Kudos, tip the cap. But then the next week you got to go play LSU. And then the next week you got to go down to the swamp and play Florida. And then the next week you got to go play at Georgia. It's boom, 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 boom. And no offense to a Big 12 schedule, but going to Iowa State, coming home for Kansas. I mean, it's just not the same. So, again, Texas can, yes, absolutely. On a one-off, they looked fantastic and huge win against Alabama. Franchise changing for Sark. But when you get to the SEC and that grind starts to take its hit, don't be surprised if you go lose on the road at Arkansas or you lose, whatever, to Florida or something like that.
Well, Chris, hey, to that point, I mean, to play devil's advocate is the Texas Longhorn team that was going to be playing in the SEC. They're going to be probably missing 3 to 5 NFL defensive linemen that are playing on this team right now. Like, this is like the same team that just went out there and physically dominated the line of scrimmage versus Alabama. That's not going to be the same Texas Longhorn team that you're going to see playing in the SEC. There are some similar names, but guys like T'Vondre Sweat, Byron Murphy, Barron Sorrell, they're all going to be gone.
So is Quinn Ewers likely, actually, while you're at it.
Yeah, and hey, welcome to the SEC, Arch.
Yep.
Let's just throw you right into the fire if it's him. We'll see. That'll be a debate for next year. But I saw somebody in the chat said, the SEC, you don't play that many top dogs in a row. Go look at what A&M has coming up. They play UL Monroe this week. Next week they will host Auburn. That's a big one. Hugh Freeze and the offense and all that. But A&M will be favored in that one. Then they go get Arkansas on a neutral field. Then they get Alabama coming to College Station. Then they have to go to Tennessee, and then they come back home for South Carolina. It's just like that is boom, 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 boom. Like, and it takes its toll on you if you're not ready.
Funny you should mention A&M. That was where we were going next. Are the Aggies in trouble? I know Miami was the big game on the schedule, non-conference. That was penciled in for a long time. It's on the road. But they were still expected to win that game. They were favored. It wasn't a crazy spread. It was like 4 points, whatever. They were expected to win that game. They expected to win that game. Are they in trouble? Are we looking at a repeat of last year for A&M?
Yeah, it's not good. I will say this, at least the offense looks better this year, and Connor Wegman looks better. He did have a couple of picks in this one. One came late in the game when it was already over. They got to find their run game. I mean, Devon Achane, Isaiah Spiller, they had all these like stud running backs the last couple of years, and right now they don't have that guy. They've got some good younger guys, Mar Daniels, Reuben Owens, but they got to figure out. They got to figure that part out, but they also got to figure out what's going on with this defense. They got 4- and 5-star recruits all up and down that defense. I don't think DJ Durkin's a very good DC. I know Jimbo went out on a ledge for him yesterday and stood up for him and said, "Oh, he's one of the best. He's one of the best DCs out there." But for that Miami team to throw for Tyler Van Dyke, 374 yards, 5 touchdowns, no picks, like A&M, like you got to do better than that. You got 5-star studs all up and down that defensive line. Get a bunch of sacks, get some pressure, do something, force a turnover. That just can't happen. And for you to go give up 48 points to an ACC team, in a half-empty stadium, that it was a huge blow. And now here the conversation has already come back to what's Jimbo's buyout? Is the Petrino experiment working? Like all the negative talk that was there last year kind of turned into positive excitement this offseason. And now, again, this upcoming rough gauntlet of a schedule that they have, you could start to see the losses mount. And I talked about it this offseason. I said, what's the safe number Jimbo has to get to keep his job? I said a minimum 7-5, because you went 5-7 last year. 7-5 would get you back into, all right, maybe we're trending in the right direction. I think 6-6, he's fired. I said that to Cole Kublik this offseason. He said he thinks 7 wins isn't even enough. He says 8 or 9 is what they have to get to. And so it's going to be fascinating. Look, the buyout is still ridiculously huge, but they have all the resources in the world there at College Station. They have, the facilities have improved throughout the years. They have the support from the fans, NIL money. I mean, everything. They got everything going for them, except for the head coach.
The last thing they want to do is be going into Texas's first year in the SEC, and they're still floundering and questioning whether Jimbo's the answer. It's going to be a high bar. I know that's a huge payout, but they don't want to go into year one of Texas in their same conference and have that hanging over their head if he doesn't do it this year.
Yeah, no doubt. And look, we were talking yesterday, who would be one of the big, who would be a name that they could go get? I said, look, for me, it's always going to start. I'll lob a phone call to Urban Meyer first. Say, Urban, come on, you're a winner. I know you bring a lot of other baggage with you. And look, Aggie's already used to hiring grimy people, right? I mean, they brought in DJ Durkin and Bobby Petrino. So you hold your nose and you call Urban Meyer and say, let's go win some football games. So that would be the first phone call. Somebody brought up, they said, would you lob a call to Dion? I think Dion likes what he's doing there in Colorado, and we'll see how this year plays out. And he's building something there. I don't know if he jumped ship after 1 year, but then again, money talks. Like if you triple or quadruple his salary he's currently making,
right.
Maybe he would go down there. So it will be fascinating. And again, it will affect the Texas Longhorns, because we think eventually the SEC will get to a non-game conference schedule, and the Aggies will be a permanent opponent on Texas's schedule year in and year out. So it will affect you guys down the road. I'm just it's just fascinating. It's almost, so I guess if you're a Longhorn fan, maybe you're rooting for Jimbo. Maybe you want him to get to those 7-8 wins so he stays at College Station so that they don't make a big splash higher.
Yeah, like Anthony Bailey here. Sark After Dark suggesting Jeff Traylor would be the hire. Call me crazy. They would be stupid not to take a good long look at Willie Fritz, and what he's doing at Tulane is nothing short of remarkable. Even without their Michael Pratt, their star quarterback, they took Ole Miss deep this week into that game, and it was a late pull ahead. Ole Miss does end up winning that game, which kind of saved the week for the SEC in a little bit. I mean, that was the only top 25 matchup of real note. But the SEC, I know you're saying it's not dead, but they were 3-6 against Power 5 opponents so far this year.
Yeah, but that's go look at who lost and who they lost to. Florida lost to Utah. They were not favored to win that game. Florida is one of the bottom teams in the SEC. Yeah. South Carolina lost to North Carolina. Hey, is North Carolina, were they favored in that game? Yeah. The only ones that were real upsets, LSU lost to Florida State. Hey, turns out Florida State's a top 4 team. They're pretty damn good. Alabama lost to Texas. Texas now in the top 4. Pretty good. I mean, again, do you call that a bad loss for Bama? No, Texas is damn good. So it's not bad. And then what's the other one? Well, Miami against A&M. A&M was a slight 4-point favorite. So yeah, to me that's the worst loss for the SEC so far.
Well, and Chris, you can even point to Tyler Van Dyke too. Like he's performing like we thought he would before he struggled and had some injury issues.
He's always been good. It's just consistency issues with him.
Yeah, no doubt. I like it. Somebody said, what about the Oregon State coach? Maybe
Jonathan Traylor is a damn good coach. I'm telling you. And he probably won't last there, even though it's his alma mater. He won't last there.
McGuire is a great
They can't afford him anymore.
Yeah, but anyway, so we'll see. Look, we start to get in the conference play here. Georgia, we don't really know who they are yet. They've played 2 cupcakes. They've had no run game, so that's a little concerning for Georgia. Carson Beck's look okay, not great. They get South Carolina this week, and South Carolina, if you take away Vandy's quarterback because they've played 3 games, they played week 0. Spencer Rattler leads the SEC in passing yards right now. I know he got sacked 9 times against North Carolina. O-line played much better against Furman this past week. It's Furman. But if they can protect and give Spencer Rattler time to throw, I think South Carolina could make a big statement against Georgia.
Wow.
Tennessee plays Florida this week. Again, we've written off Florida because they look like crap against Utah week 1. This past week they play McNeese. They finally get their ground game going like I thought they would. They look much better. If they get a little confidence going, Tennessee, Joe Milton has not looked good. Joe Milton has struggled to throw the football. Everybody just said, heir apparent to Hendon Hooker, he's going to be fine. Joe Milton, if he struggles at all down the swamp, Tennessee's going to get their butts beat. So I say all that to say, like that narrative, we're saying of the SEC stinks. We're going to see more SEC teams get upset in conference play here because guys are not living up to the hype. I could not believe yesterday when I saw, I think it's like the 10th, 11th, and 12th best passers in the SEC right now are Will Rogers, Joe Milton, and KJ Jefferson. Everybody thought those guys would be at the top of the passing list in the SEC at this point, in the season. So it's just kind of weird how everything's playing out so far.
And my dad's a Florida alum. That Tennessee-Florida rivalry is doesn't get the heat that it used to, but I promise you in Gainesville and Knoxville, it's still big time. Are there any other games you're looking forward to? I was looking at honestly, low-key kind of tough matchup for LSU is that Mississippi State game. They just went on the road, beat Arizona. Was that on the road or in home? Anyway, they beat Arizona. That was a pretty tough-fought game. Zach Arnett is trying to change that culture there. They're completely shifted away from the Pirate. They're trying to focus more on defense and running game. Is that a trap game for LSU?
I couldn't believe when I saw they were about a 9 or 10 point favorite on the road. Mississippi State is a really good team with a lot of senior leaders and guys who've been around a while. All it's changed with Mississippi State is they've gone more traditional style. They are more balanced. Will Rogers is throwing for like under 2. He's, the air raid with Mike Leach, he was throwing for 300, 400 yards a game. They're way more balanced. Woody Marks, their running back, leads the SEC in rushing yards through the first 2 weeks. They're going to run the ball on you, and they're going to play hard-nosed defense. And Zach Arnett's a really good defensive coordinator, and they got playmakers all over. Jet Johnson, Bookie Watson at linebacker, like those guys are studs. They led the SEC in tackles last year, and they're both already on the path to doing so again. Mississippi State is a serious ball club that if you don't come ready to play, you're going to get your butt beaten. So I hate the early start for LSU having to go play at 11 a.m. And again, if they come in and make any kind of mistakes and they're not moving the chains or they turn the ball over, I think Mississippi State will absolutely be in position to pull off this upset. So LSU better. Brian Kelly better have them ready to play. They did look much better. They played Grambling this past week, but obviously we saw the offense look much better. And all those drives that stalled against Florida State, they look more fluid. For LSU's perspective, I wish it had been flipped. I wish they had played Grambling week 1 to get all the kinks worked out and then play Florida State. I think it would have been a much closer game, but it is what it is. But no, you're right. That's Mississippi State is a pretty darn good team. And again, one of those teams in the SEC that if you don't come ready to play for, you're gonna get beat.
Chris, we've got some new people tuning in ever since the big win over Alabama. People are pretty excited around here. For the new people that are checking us out, go ahead and tell the people where they can find you if they want some more great SEC content.
Yeah, we're just locked on SEC wherever you get your podcasts. We got the YouTube version up now. I think we're about to hit 4,000 subscribers there. The podcasts are still kicking butt all over the place, and I'm excited, man. Texas is of the new additions that are coming next year. Texas and Oklahoma. Texas is the one I'm closest to. My wife's family filled with a bunch of Longhorns, so I'm excited to get Texas in the SEC. Get back out to Darrell K. Royal Stadium, tailgate again. I was at the LSU game in 2019. again, we won't bring up bad memories, but nonetheless, yeah, I'm excited, man. We'll be talking a lot of Texas and Oklahoma here in the coming months. In fact, we were debating, starting to do some rankings each week and adding Texas and Oklahoma to the mix because, hey, why not? They're already 1 foot in. And to hell with the Big 12 Twitter account. Try to take credit for that win on Saturday night. I'll be damned. That was an SEC win. That was an SEC game, Texas versus Alabama. You don't get to talk trash about Texas all season and then take credit for the win, Big 12. To hell with you, Brett Yormark.
Hey, Chris, I'll say it with me. SEC.
Yeah,
SEC. I know Texas fans are mocking it after the game, but no, we're all about it. We're SEC country now.
That was ringing out loud, even through the TV broadcast. You could hear the SEC chants. And I saw on Twitter there were a lot of Bama fans who were upset that there were so many Texas fans there. They were like, "How dare you sell your tickets?"
If I'm Greg Sankey, and if I don't know what he's doing that day, hopefully the Big 12 championship is either earlier or later than the SEC championship that day. But if Texas gets there and they win the Big 12 championship, I would get on a plane and go there, and as Brett Yormark is about to hand him the trophy, I would step in and hand the trophy to Sark and go, "Hey, step aside. I'm his commissioner now. Hey, congrats, Sark."
Do a little hockey hip check.
Yeah.
I promise you, as soon as Yormark appears, if Texas is in there and they win that game, as soon as Yormark steps on stage,
it's gonna be bad.
It's gonna be like Roger Goodell at the NFL
hilarious.
Draft. It's gonna be bad.
You're gonna hear like the entire stadium because it'll be a stadium full. It'll be Jerry World full of Longhorn fans.
I may get a credential and go to that game. I just want to take pictures of Brett Yormark's face having a hand Sark a trophy. I just think that'd be fantastic.
What's really going to kill him is if it's Texas versus OU in the championship game.
Oh, yeah, even better. Come on.
He may be sick that day.
Chris, you got to get that jersey hung up behind you, man. You got to get that Burrow jersey more prominently displayed.
Yeah, I do. It's
see it tucked away back there, man.
Not after this week, though. He killed me in fantasy. No Burrow love this week.
Yeah, no Burrow love.
Chris, thank you so much for joining us. This was great as always. I'm already looking forward to next week's chat.
All right, thanks, guys. Talk to you next week.
All right, thank you, Chris. That was Chris Gordy again, SEC Tuesday. We do it every Tuesday, looking ahead to the SEC because, like Chris said, who cares about the Big 12 right now, right? I mean, we got to do it. By the way, thank you, Aaron. Elite Sports Memorabilia. We got rolling so much on playing devil's advocate that we forgot to mention Elite Sports Memorabilia.
Travis pissed off the chat. He pissed off the sponsors. He's just having a show.
Well, you know what? Don't take it out on ESM because if you do that, you're really just taking it out on yourself, guys.
And the players.
The gear that is available through Elite Sports Memorabilia is incredible. They've got everything. All these Longhorns are on there, and they've got some real good deals going on right now because of the Texas win over Alabama. Scan that QR code. Go get you an autographed jersey from Ethan Burke, one of the players of the game, one of the most underrated players of the game. How about an 18 Mitchell mini helmet? Adonai signing it himself, autographing it. It can be yours, packaged, bundled, and shipped to your home. There's a lot of fantastic gear available to you right now if you scan that QR code. So don't take it out on them because I got you and Russell your jimmies this morning. Go get you. How about Jonathan Brooks? I didn't even get to. I wanted to talk about how underrated Jonathan Brooks has been, and I will be talking about it in my Orangebloods column tomorrow. Jonathan Brooks is a proud Elite Sports Memorabilia member. I know he talks to Brandon, the owner there, quite a bit. Jonathan Brooks has got a lot of awesome jerseys and helmets and gear ready to go, autographed, ready for you to be shipped. JT Sanders is another one. Dude, JT Sanders is going first round in the NFL draft coming next year. You better get his gear now before you're paying a lot more for it come the spring. So check out Elite Sports Memorabilia. And while you're at it, hey, I mentioned my column on Orangebloods. That's going to go up tomorrow. I promise you I'm not going to be playing devil's advocate in the column. So relax.
But you do have the Gailey poll, and I have a feeling that there is a certain hot take coming in the Gailey poll that we got the chat's reaction. I'm excited.
Hey, Aaron, that thing is coming hotter than the meteor that took out the dinosaurs.
Ranking for the Beavers and the Tide.
when I do release my top 25 rankings, there is a chance a certain Crimson team will be a little lower than a certain Orange and Black.
You better do it now. You have to do it
Yeah,
now.
no,
I'm just saying. Oh, it was
stand
good.
on it at this point.
It was going to happen. That was not the hot take. I'm telling you, that's legit.
was
That
a
wasn't
hot take.
playing devil's advocate.
All right.
The devil's advocate was the concerns about Texas. Those I don't believe. I'm just playing devil's advocate. But seriously, 60 days for free. If you haven't joined Orangebloods, first off, what are you waiting for? There's a lot of content on OB that you're not going to get on OB Live. And second, it's free. 60 days. What do you have to lose? Give it a shot. If you don't love it, you're out nothing. You are out nothing. But I don't think that's going to happen. I think you're going to get on there and you're going to be hooked, just like all of us were hooked before this adventure came along. Heck, I was an OB member before I started writing for them, for like going back to the Matthew Stafford recruitment. That's how far back I go with Orangebloods. That I say that only to tell you I am a user, not just a writer on there. So when I tell you you need to sign up, it's because I believe in the product. Scan that QR code, 60 days for free. You can't go wrong. Check it out. You won't be disappointed. Guys, so this was a nice, quiet show.
Yeah, no, I mean, guys, please come back tomorrow. Hit the like button. We really appreciate it. It helps out the show. This is probably the first one we've really gone off the rails, but don't worry, we are going to be locked back in. Tomorrow, we will have the scouting report, I believe. We're going to be talking more about the Texas-Wyoming matchup, kind of getting more into Wyoming to see what they really did against Texas Tech, how that might apply to Texas. But yeah, I mean, stay tuned. Orangebloods Live the rest of the day. We got old-fashioned sports show, House Divided, football with friends with Alex Dunlap. But yeah, give us a like on the way out. We really appreciate it. Everyone in the chat. Great day for the chat. The chat kept me entertained for sure. So, yeah, thank you to everyone that was watching.
If you guys think I'm nuts, smash that like button. If you think my hot takes today were crazy, go ahead and hit it just to prove me wrong. If you want to tune in tomorrow, though, I promise you it will be good. We're going to have Ryan Thorburn. He's a writer up in Wyoming. He's going to be breaking down the Cowboys. It should be interesting to hear his take. They already have a win over Texas Tech and Joey McGuire. They're 2-0. I don't think they're going to beat Texas, but we'll hear what he has to say. Tune in tomorrow for the scouting report. I promise it'll probably be a much tamer show, but you'll still be entertained. Thank you guys so much for joining us. For Aaron Little on Orangebloods and Nash Talks Texas, I'm Travis Gailey. Follow us all on social media. Thank you guys. Have a great day.